Welcome, everyone, to another fantastic episode of Double Book. Today's guest invites us into a world suspended above the clouds where ancient magic stirs, alliance trembles, and loyalty is measured by blood. My guest is the mind behind the fantastic The Floating Castle. Please join me in welcoming the architect of this breathtaking fantasy debut, LN Holmes. How are you doing today, my friend?
Yeah, making it. The book launch has been crazy, but
Oh
you know,
man,
we're making it.
that's awesome. That's awesome. That's so
How are you,
exciting.
Josh?
To be honest, it has been a super exciting day. I've been looking for this conversation since we
Aw.
went through and I finished your book. We are super hyped up for Halloween coming up. The kids are dressing up as Star Wars and they've been beating each other with lightsabers for about 2 weeks. So that's kind of been what's happening on my neck of the
Oh,
woods.
that's great.
So it's been so much fun. I mentioned before we went live that I really loved your book, and it was so much fun, so engaging. The ending really my jaw dropped on how well it was, and I was like, I need more right now. It was so much fun. I do have some spoiler questions to ask you after the interview because I need to know. I don't need you to tell me what happened. I just need to know that there's a plan on, hey, yes, you will find that out in book 2 kind of thing. So
Mhm. Mhm.
for those that aren't familiar with your novel, I would love for you to go through and just do a quick elevator pitch about your fantastic story.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me on, Josh. I appreciate it. I've been looking forward to this interview as well. I love your channel. I watch as many live interviews as I can. I just was watching the replay of Blake's interview, so I got through most of it, and I really enjoyed that interview. But yeah, the book. so yeah, so my book is an adult, dark, epic fantasy. It's really hard to compare it to other books, but if you take certain elements out of other books, then it'll compile into my book, right? So if you take like the dragons and the political intrigue out of Game of Thrones, and like the monsters and like the fiery women out of The Witcher, and you take, like the dragons and political intrigue out of the Priory of the Orange Tree, stuff like that, then you can kind of get an idea of my book. um it is So if you imagine a world where demons control the supply of magic and dragons are both feared and sentient, this is my pitch. You know, three women come together to combine forces to oppose an evil prince and escape his floating castle. So that's the main premise of the book. And yeah, it's from the perspective of these three women and also the antagonist, the evil prince. So
Mm-hmm. And these are some tough women. These are tough women.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll get into a little bit about their characters, but they're awesome. I truly um, got invested very quickly within your characters, and I do go through and love that when authors go through and write characters that you automatically connect with, you really understand them from the beginning, and you're like, all right, I'm with you on this fantastic, crazy ride. So we have some amazing people I'm going to go through and run down real quick, and then I kind of want to lean into your origin story. What's your background outside of writing, and really go through and what got you in the stories. Let's just jump in and say some hi to some friends, and then we'll get going. So we have the number one. Mark jumped in here first.
Mark.
Good
Hi,
morning, Mark.
Mark.
How's it going, buddy? Always doing his stuff. How's it going, Mark? So happy you're here. And then Saffron, who got me into us connecting. She is fantastic.
Oh,
Adore
yay.
her.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Safi.
adore her. Then we got Marty. Hey,
Hey,
Marty.
Mom.
Oh, hey, Mom. The fantastic
Adam.
Adam Bassett. And then the man, the myth, the legend, Kevin Toll. How's it going, buddy? And then, yes, I am going to be Darth Vader, but I'm going to be Anakin Skywalker because my kids have not met Darth Vader yet. So we're slowly getting into that. So they don't know that I'm the bad guy yet. It's always fun. And then,
You are indeed their father.
yes.
I'm sorry. That was so bad.
So no, it was hilarious. It was awesome. Hey, Lucas, how's it going, buddy? I agree. Floating Castle
Mhm.
is a banger.
Mhm.
Tim Wolf, and then Saffron, I'm going to go through and hold on to your question, but we will get to that one very, very quickly. So let's jump in. Like I mentioned, I'm really curious on, because this, again, your book was so well written, and can't imagine that this is your first like debut full novel. I know you have the other short story kind of collection, but this is full novel, and I'm very surprised because it's written so well. So I'm very
Thank you.
curious. What's your background outside of writing? Did you always know you wanted to tell stories, or did this novel really just come out of nowhere, go from a completely different path for you?
I always knew I wanted to be a storyteller.
Mhm.
Now I have written other novels, but they have never seen like the light of day. I've never tried to publish them. I've never tried to, go into the query trenches or anything like that. I have just put them in a drawer. Um, I would say I've written up to, I think, 7 is what
Oh,
I
wow.
last calculated. So this is the first one I felt like was the novel that I wanted to put out there. And it the story felt so big to me. I knew I couldn't just write one book. I had to write a series.
Mm.
So, if we go back a little bit, I knew I wanted to be like, I knew I wanted to tell stories since elementary school. I have told stories to my best friend on the bus and some other people when I was really young. I wrote a novel in 5th grade. That's not one of the ones I counted in the 7, by the way. But it was funny. It was just like fast cars and my friends and really silly stuff, but fun. I was enjoying it, and I always joke that I also wanted to be a detective, and that dream fell away quickly. So because I realized being a detective is hard and scary, and I would much rather like control the world than it can, it come after me. So um yeah, so that's why storytelling made sense to me. And then also like it was a way to escape, but it was also a way to like I just always was drawn to the artistic creative side of it. I can't draw, and I can't I don't have any other like artistic talents, so this was my way to do something that was artistic, but something I could do. And yeah, so I went to school for it. I got my bachelor's in creative writing, and then I went and got my MFA. And yeah, I started writing a lot of short stories because a lot of people told me, you kind of need to build a platform. You kind of need to have people reading your stuff before you put your novel out. And I'm glad I listened to that because I learned so much about storytelling in the process of doing all that. I published quite a few short stories, and some of them I'm really proud of. um, and yeah, and then I just kept learning and learning, and it gave me, I was able to flex that writing muscle a lot in between, all those failed novels. I could finish something quickly and feel good about it, and keep practicing for the novel. So that's kind of how I came to writing. It was something I always knew I wanted to do. It was something that I was drawn to immediately. And I can't imagine doing anything else. I think I would be a very sad person if I tried to do something else. I love, if I'm going to do anything as far as like a career, I always want to do stuff that's has directly to do with writing. So we're a military family, so we move around a lot.
Mhm.
So my last job was I worked at a writing center at a college, a community college, and it was so fun and so rewarding to work with the students there. They would bring in their essays or whatever they were working on. Sometimes it was poetry, sometimes it was a short story. Oh, I love those days. And we would go over it, and it made my soul sing, just like, yes, I get to talk about writing with someone else. It's so fun. So yeah, I can't imagine doing anything else.
That's awesome. I do got a few follow-up questions, some of the amazing things that you mentioned. I do take a lot of notes. Anyone that's watching, I constantly take notes during conversations because it helps me connect things
Mhm.
together. But some good news, since we've been on, Kevin is jumping off, but he already went through and pre-ordered your book. And
Thank
then
you.
Marianne
Yay.
Allen also
Mhm.
pre-ordered your book. So we got 2 pre-orders. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank
So,
you.
so exciting. So exciting. Y'all are gonna love it. It's such a great story. So you mentioned 7 novels non-published, not including your school bus stories. But seven novels not published. And I'm curious, are they all within the same genre? Is it all fantasy, or did you kind of jump around to kind of feel where your voice is, and then that's what kind of led you into fantasy?
Yeah, I had to learn something new with each one, and I had to become better and better as a writer before I was really satisfied with putting something out there for people to read. Um, it was quite the journey. I mean, I don't want to say I have like a whole bunch of talent. I just am determined and I love the art. So I really want to tell a good story. I really want to hook people and create something meaningful. That's my goal. And with the other novels, some of them were science fiction, some of them were dystopian, some of them were. I'm trying to think if there were other fantasy ones. Maybe. I don't know. We're getting back pretty far now, but a lot of them were like YA.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I'm not sure I actually need to write YA. Like that just feels like something I've been pressured to do, if that
Hmm.
makes sense. Because there was a lot of pressure at the time, for women to write YA, especially in trad publishing.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I'm not sure that's actually what I want to write. I think I want to write for adults. And so when I started writing for adults, I felt like I hit a stride. It started with the short stories. That's where I started with that. And I realized, with the adult audience, you can go a little bit darker to talk about those really tough,
Hmm.
meaningful things that we deal with as adults. Um, and you can still talk about children and stuff, but it's kind of like it's a different lens. And so with YA, there was this pressure to kind of create a lot of hope throughout the kind of darker settings. And I'm like, well, what if I don't want hope at all? Or what if I want hope kind of at the end? Or what if it felt constricting. And so I do like writing hope into my book at certain intervals, but I felt like some of the things that I was talking about, you couldn't just like, it was really bad, but oh, don't worry, we're gonna have like a tea party now, and everybody's gonna be happy. You know what I mean? It felt like it was a cop out and not what I wanted to do. So I when I write dark things, I hope that it will be something that's thought provoking and will make you think about the person's perspective and
Hmm.
their flaws, and also like how they view the world, how that looks different to other people, and kind of think about humanity and how we interact with each other. Um, yeah.
So we do have some amazing questions in the chat, and I do want to bring those up, but I have one more question, and then we'll kind of lean into the audience, some of the audience questions we have so far. You've always been a fan of writing and entertainment storytelling, and I'm curious what authors or
Yeah.
stories influenced you, specifically your style and your approach to writing. Do you have any ones that go, these are the people that influenced you either growing up or even now?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's people that writers that influenced me both as a reader and as a writer. When I was young, I went to the library a lot with my family. I was reading like Terry Brooks and Neil Gaiman and a bunch of
Mhm.
other like fantasy authors that were kind of big at the time. Um, which also kind of dates me, but anyway, uh, um, I started to realize, oh, fantasy can look all these different ways
Mhm.
and science fiction can look all these different ways. You know, what I was hit with in school was like, this is what science fiction is and this is what fantasy is. But I realized as I started to read more and more in the genre, it was so vast. You could do so many cool things with it. And that was exciting to me because I was like, ooh, possibilities, you know? Um, because I think Terry Brooks is like, it is this fantasy, but it's also like dystopian, and
Mhm.
it's kind of weird. It's like this weird mashup. So, and I was like, ooh, that's interesting. I also dabbled a little bit with horror books, which
Mhm.
scared me to death. I'm a fraidy cat, but I loved them. You know, I just couldn't sleep after I read them, but
Yeah.
I loved them. And so the darker elements that usually come into my
Mhm.
books are usually influenced by those horror elements because you can do something in horror that you can't do in other genres. You know, in my opinion, I think it's you can go to the very deepest, darkest things and
Mhm.
topics and really explore humanity in those dark places, and that's really hard to do in like any other genre. You know, you can go dark with science
Mhm.
fiction and fantasy, but I think at that point you're starting to lean into horror, right? So
Mhm.
I feel like horror is I wish more people would give it a chance, especially like the stuff that really examines our humanity.
Mhm.
So it is scary, but it's there's a lot of good stuff out there.
Oh, I
Um,
agree. I agree. And the thing is, horror has a spectrum that I've noticed.
yeah,
It
yeah,
is like when most people think of horror, they think of slashers, and that's
yeah,
not how it is in the writing space. You
yeah.
get everything under the sun. I just got done reading a psychological thriller horror book,
Mhm.
and I'm getting ready to read a more supernatural slasher type
Yeah.
of book. But it's like there's a spectrum, so you can find what fits your comfortability. So yeah, I can't agree more. People just need to go through and give it a chance.
Yeah, I think as far as writers now, like definitely you know, all my friends who are writing, they're definitely doing amazing work. And then, you know, I'm really blown away by some of the indie press authors out there.
Mhm.
Melanie Finn, um her work is incredible. Specifically read The Gloaming. It is beautiful and just when I first started it, it was about like this affair at first. I was like, another literary fiction about an affair, like boring. And then I kept going, and I'm glad I did because it just got so interesting as it kept going. She plays with form. She, you know, she does all these kind of weird things in it, and I just loved it. It's like a thriller, um, a literary thriller. It's really
Mhm.
good. Um, and then yeah, like I'm a huge fan of, you know, all kinds of science fiction and fantasy authors out there. You know, I let's see, NK Jemisin, I think is her
Mhm.
last name. Fantastic books. I Annihilation is such a good book. I don't know if you've read the series, the
Mm-mm, not
Annihilation
really.
series.
Mm-mm.
Oh, it's so good. It's weird. I like the weird stuff, the stuff that challenges you and makes you think, and you know, and does it in a speculative way. Um, so
Same.
that's the interesting stuff to me. Because you know it's weird and it's different, and I don't like formulaic. I don't like the same thing
Mhm.
over and over and over. I get so bored, and I just put the book down. Um,
I'm
so
I
yeah.
cannot agree more. I'm the same way. I need something fresh. I'm not a big fan of books that have the exact same tropes. It's like, okay, you
Mm,
just changed the name, but it's the exact same beat of every other story. I
yeah.
like books that really sit with me. That it could be. There's books that I've read years ago
Mm,
that I still think about. I'm like, this book still is haunting me,
yeah.
and it lives with me consistently. I do want to jump into some of the audience questions, and uh, before we jump into Saffron's question, did you always wanted to go self-publishing for the Floating Castle, or did you try traditional route?
I think when I went through the MFA, there was a lot of pressure to go the trad route.
Hmm.
Um, and I definitely queried the book. But what I figured out was, um, one, I'm writing a fantasy without romance in it. That was a big, like, for me. It was a big cut. For a lot of agents, they were just like, nah, I'm not interested. And I don't know if it's because I was writing about women, and so therefore, like, it was something like that, and so they expected romance, which was frustrating, or if it was just like the romantasy boom took off,
Hmm.
and so everybody was looking for romantasy instead of, epic fantasy about women. So um that was kind of went against me. And then as far as like the fact that it's a series and it's going to be a longer series, there's a lot of agents that are like, no series at all, give me a standalone.
Hmm.
um Especially in fantasy, especially if your debut, there should be potential for a follow-up, maybe like a duology at max. But don't do a whole series. And I was like, oh, well, that's a problem. So um so I had other friends who had done the self-publishing route, and they urged me to go the self-publishing route. They're like, trad is really not,
Hmm.
it's not great. Like, there's a lot of, you don't have a lot of control over your book, a lot of control over the decisions. If you get an agent, you then have to sell the book, and it's like, that's not guaranteed. So your book could be tied up for years and years and years and years and not out there. And, they might change the title, they might change the cover, they might do all these things that you don't like. And I was like, okay, well, I don't know. So I tried it because I was like, well, why not? We'll try it. And obviously that didn't work out. I tried small presses, and they were like, there was like, I think 3 that made an offer. And then I read the offer and I was like, no, we're not going to do that. So, that was nice of them to show interest, but the deals were definitely not for me.
Hmm.
Now for other people, they were happy with it, but for me, I'm like, I know how to make more money on my own, so I'm not going to do that.
Hmm.
Um, and that's, I mean, indie authors don't make a lot of money, so
Yeah. Yeah.
that was not a good deal for me, right?
Hmm.
So, yeah, so it was, trad is one of those things that I'm never going to say, oh no, never trad. And I
Hmm.
love a lot of trad authors. But I think for this series, it's not the right route. I think self-publishing was always going to be the right route.
So, with that being said, what has been the best part about self-publishing for you?
Yeah. Having complete control. I know a lot of authors say that,
Hmm.
but it is so true. You can market whatever you want whenever you want.
Hmm.
You can change whatever you want whenever you want. you know, um, I have talked to bookstores on my own. I don't have to rely on someone else to do that. I can make those connections myself,
Hmm.
and those are very meaningful connections, and I like that. The people who support me, the bookstores who support me, um, the people there are amazing. And I wouldn't want someone being a filter between me and that, bookstore owner. I want to do that myself. I want to
Hmm.
learn about them and their history and, what makes their bookstore special. Um, so that's been a really great part of going on my own. Um, and then of course the indie community, you guys rock. Like the indie authors out there, Saffron, all that you're doing, Josh, thank you so much for hosting like all these indie
Hmm.
authors. Yeah, I mean, the indie community is fantastic, so welcoming, so warm.
Hmm.
Everybody has been super nice to me. um so yeah, it's been great. I feel a lot less, of that pressure from my MFA to be a trad author, like the self-publishing route feels
Yeah.
good. So yeah.
Awesome. So really, from what I got out of it is the connection. Really, it comes down to the connection. Having um, that capability to connect with the people that you're selling you not only your books to, but
Yeah.
to the small companies that are going to be going through and promoting the book, like these small indie
Yeah.
bookstores, or just even the generalized bookstores as well. But really building that connection feels like that's where the passion is that people part of it. And I want to go through and lean
Mhm.
into that in a little bit, but we do have
Mhm.
some amazing questions that I do want to jump into. Andy says, will you continue the strong women theme in the books to come? Or will you introduce any male characters that will go through and challenge and rival the women? I do like that question. It's a fantastic question, Andy.
That's such a fantastic question. I will definitely keep up the strong women theme. However, there's going to be a lot of male characters that, men who are complex and not all good, not all bad, just like real life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and you're going to see more of that complexity in book 2, book 3, book 4, so one in particular I'm thinking of in book 2 is going to go from like this really minor side character to a very important character in book 2. So yeah, just something to maybe look forward to. But yeah, even there's a character that shows up near the end of the book. His name is Tyndale, and he will
Mm-hmm.
be important in the second book as well. So yeah.
Awesome. And one more question. I'm going to jump in back to the mine. Would you like your children to one day be authors as well? Is that something you're interested about them one day going and doing?
I would love for him to do whatever he wants to do. My parents supported me and loved me and fostered that love of writing and reading. And it wasn't like they pushed me to do anything. They just let me explore. They let me figure it out on my own. That's what I want to do for my son. So, yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. We are behind on chat. We got
Yay!
three
Thank
pre-orders.
you.
Killing it.
Thank
Look
you
at
so
there.
much.
Awesome. That's awesome. All right. We got some people just talking about some awesome stuff. And let's see if there's any questions I missed. Oh, good question here by the great Joe Byrne. Joe wants to know, where did your character theme come from? That's a great question.
That's a complex answer. So, Liling in particular, she had like a whole thing. I went down research rabbit holes for her. She's loosely connected to this Chinese mythical princess, but it's like not a direct translation. You know what I mean? So,
Mhm.
there's I took lots of liberties. Um, and I definitely changed her name because I didn't want people to associate her with that princess. So her name was the hardest one. I took a lot of time and thought into what her name should be. Now, as far as the other ones, some of them were more complex than others, but sometimes I just went on to medievalist.net, which is like this, this really cool history like medieval history site written by scholars and historians, and there's really cool articles on there. Sometimes they're really like weird and kind of niche, and other times they're very informative about like you know all of medieval history in general. So it's really cool to get on there and just kind of poke around. But I found some common names on there, and for like medieval England, names from medieval England. And then yeah, I did a lot of research for some of them. A lot of Liling's like kind of group, I had to really think about the names a lot. So but yeah, some of them were easy. Elias was hard. Well, harder. He was going to be Edgar or something, and then I hated that. I was like, no, that's not right. That's not. He's not
Mhm.
an Edgar. That feels, I don't know, stuffy. He feels more like a snake. So I felt like Elias,
Mhm.
has a better ring to it.
It flows better. I like the name Elias. I think it flows very well. Um, from a I'm really curious. I do want to get into your creative process and your book specifically, but I'm always curious on hobbies outside of writing. Is there
Mhm.
any hobby that you have that you have outside of writing, like
Mhm.
gardening? You said you're not a painter, you're not like drawing or anything like that. Is there any kind of other hobbies you might have? Any kind of
I,
special skills?
I joke that I'm kind of a one-trick pony, but um, you know, I do like apple picking. I go with my husband and I go to different orchards and stuff and try different apples. But I also like, you know, I'm big into video games and uh TV when I have time. Well, I should say like the streaming shows because I get kind of bored with like mainstream TV because again that formulaic kind of
Mhm.
storytelling gets on my nerves and I can't watch it for very long. Um, but yeah, I'm trying to think if I do anything else
What
that's
kind of what kind of games do you play?
yeah, so I like so probably like my top 5, Fallout 4,
Mhm.
um the oh, I'm blanking on the name. Horizon Zero Dawn. Um Last of Us and Dragon Age obviously. That's like my favorite of all time. More the older games than the newer ones. Dragon Age
So
Origins, still the best. Um, I will never get over the fact that they switched up the magic system so much. Oh, the magic system was so good in Origins. I don't know why they changed it. Anyway, um, let's see, what's the fifth one? I really liked the BioShock games. Oh, and I love the games that are like you know you're in a story and you have to make a decision and there's a consequence, like Heavy Rain or
Mhm.
trying to think the one that's really big. Oh, I'm blanking on it. Hmm, I forget. Anyway, Heavy Rain's a good one.
Um, Mark says Dead Space. Is that Dead Space? I don't play video games, so I
I
don't
don't
know.
think I've played Dead Space.
Detroit Becomes Human. Yeah, where the robots.
Oh, yeah. So same video game company. They created a bunch of those. And I think Heavy Rain was one
Elder
of
Ring.
them.
You think is it Elder Ring? Is that the one that people play now? Elden
Uh,
Ring? Something, I don't know. If people play it, I don't know. Some games people talk about.
I
I'm not that familiar with.
I don't. I'm not familiar with Elden Ring. I feel like I've seen it a lot, but I'm not.
Mhm.
I haven't played it.
I think it's
Um.
the same kind of um, decision
Uh.
based gaming, but
Yeah,
I'm
anything
not
that's
sure.
like consequences that
Mhm.
you like if you make a decision there's a consequence later. Like Dragon Age was big on that for a while and now they kind of pulled back on
Or
that, which
or
drives me
Fable.
crazy.
Fable. I know growing up
Or
I played
Fable,
Fable. I
yeah.
played Fable
Uh-huh.
growing up. So kind of like that one where it's like you gonna be good or you gonna be bad kind of route. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy those. Those are a lot of fun.
Mhm.
Those are cool stuff.
Mass Effect's another one.
Mass Effect is a good one. So what kind of just real quick, I'm curious, TV shows, because what I have down here, so I'm just making sure I'm getting kind of a flow, trying to get an understanding. We have a lot of detective. We really are in the horror, apocalyptic games, dragons. I'm curious what kind of TV shows? If you top two, what's your top two go-to show?
Top 2. Oh man.
Top two. Top two.
I think The Haunting of Hill House is
Okay.
probably in my top 2 just
Mhm.
because it's so well done, so brilliant. Um, love the book too. It's completely different,
Mhm.
but that show is so cool, and it's about family in this really dark setting, and they used the horror elements in a way that was like exploring these kind of family connections and like how they treated each other and stuff. And I thought it was just brilliant. Um, the other one, that's hard. I really like the Sherlock Holmes BBC series.
Same. It's really good.
The
Really
OA is
good.
so good, but they never finished
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
Oh, I
Okay.
love Stranger Things too, and Arcane. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I don't know. It's too hard.
You have a lot of different amazing taste. It really jumps all over the place if you go through and look at it.
Mhm.
But it sticks with it's not like it's completely off of each other. Because like I mentioned, you keep mentioning the same 3 types of topics. It's detective, we have that Sherlock Holmes, then we have the horror, which is we have the Hill House, and then we have the Stranger Things, which is that
Mhm.
like D&D, Fallout, Last of Us kind of feel to it. So
Mhm.
interesting, interesting. So you can kind of see that same kind of interest throughout there, which makes sense um, for the type of stories you go through and write. So that's very cool. Very cool. Um, so I do want to lean in a little bit to your creative process that I mentioned. I'm really curious. I always find this question very intriguing to hear from different authors' perspectives. From your perspective, what part of the writing process do you specifically find to be the most difficult? Is it getting the words down? Is it refining the language? Or is it finally letting the story go, going, yes, this is the ending? I'm just really curious for you. What's that hardest part for you?
Good question. I would say probably hmm, refining the language, because I always want to say something specific in the best possible way, right? So, but I want it to be entertaining, and I want it to be. Sometimes I want it to be pretty. So, not always. Sometimes it's like, okay, we just need to get the story moving through here, right? But
Mhm.
other times I'm just like, I want to linger here and just pause and try my best to say something beautiful. So refining the language is always the hardest for me. I definitely don't have a problem writing, because I love it so much. I can give you all kinds of horrible drafts. Um, and the ending isn't so hard for me. Sometimes it's a little harder than others, but I would say I can always find an ending. Now my writer friends don't always agree where the ending is, which is fine. But yeah, I can always find at least something that feels like an ending to me. Refining the language is so tough. It's so tough. Oh my gosh, so tough.
So you said finding the ending. So I'm really curious because anyone, from my perspective, I'm not a writer, have never written anything, probably won't. Um, but there's always that question: are you a pantser or a plotter kind of thing? And I feel like with the conversations I have, it's everyone leans in with each other. It's just which side of the fence do you want to actually lean on, but you do both. And you said you find the ending. So
Mhm.
I'm assuming that you lean more into the pantser side than the plotter side. Am I correct on that assumption?
I like to call myself a chaos plotter. So I have outlines for the Floating Castle and the Pirate Queens, which is the next book. But I deviate, and my notes are all over the place, and yeah, it's kind of a joke, but a running joke. But I'm yeah, it's a lot of chaos, but I try to bring it together in the end. Finding the ending, I'll usually have like a general idea in the outline. Okay, here's where I want to end the book. But what I find is that that doesn't always work. And,
Mhm.
there has to be what feels like kind of a natural end to the book. Um, while even for a series, you know, I I've seen people leave it on cliffhangers, and I've seen so many people mad about that. Um, I wanted it to feel like there was an end to the book, but also there was going to be the next book in the series that's coming,
Mhm.
if that makes sense. So,
Mhm.
um, so yeah, that's tricky. It's really difficult. But I feel like I can get to a spot where I'm at least happy enough with it to run with it.
Okay. And I could say from a reader's perspective, it is open going, oh, I see where the story's going,
Hmm.
but it was a satisfying ending. Like it's not
Okay.
like I ended the book going like, why did she stop here?
Yeah.
As
Good.
the reader engaged, I wanted more, but I
Hmm.
felt it was a full story. It was fantastic. It was such a great ending, and it had that. Um, I almost said the ending. I almost said it. I stopped myself.
Thank
It
you.
has that. It has that. That pop that you would want from a story. It has that good like oh my goodness
Oh,
moment within the
good.
story. So it was a good spot to go through and stop. You mentioned as a chaos plotter, you have book one and book two
Hmm.
plotted out.
Hmm.
How many books do you plan on having in the series? You mentioned at the beginning it's going to be a lot, but how much is a lot from as of this moment? Obviously, it could be a few more, could be a few less, but do you have like an estimate on how many books?
Yeah. So I'm thinking anywhere from 8 to 10. That might expand a little bit because the book that I'm writing now almost feels like two separate books. Uh, One might end up being a novella separate from
Mhm.
the story with my three main characters. So maybe more than that, but I feel like 8 to 10 is about where I want the series to go. And I do have the other books summarized, and I've started to kind of create beyond that. Um, but all of them are living in my head right now, and I can see as far out as the 10th book, and I can think, oh, this is going to happen in the 10th book. I need to think about this thing in the second book, um, because I'm trying to build this kind of culture wherever you go, as well as like a culture for the whole continent, and the people there, as as well as like the mystery and the things that aren't quite as clear to the characters or to people in general. And there's definitely questions in the first book that are going to get answered as the series goes on. Hmm.
I have more concerns with my questions after we get off that you're going to be like, that is going to be book 5. I just have a feeling. I just have a feeling one of my questions, that's what it's going to be. All right. So I want to lean into a little bit about the book. Non spoilers. I'm going to try to keep it high level, but I do have some specific questions about the floating castle. So you have 8 to 10 books
Hmm.
for this series. Where did that initial spark come from? What was that first aha? I kind of I have an idea first, or where did that come from?
Yeah. So it started with Emmeline. I thought, wouldn't it be cool if a knight saved a princess? But the knight was like a lady, you know? And wouldn't it be cool if like the princess didn't really need saved, but she was like orchestrating all the chaos? And then it became, what if she messed with the knight? Like, it just spiraled out from there. And uh I also I read a lot of fantasy, and I get tired sometimes because it seems like it's really hard to find books from the perspective of women that are in epic fantasy that aren't romantasy. It's very hard to find those books.
Mm,
I'm sure they exist. If you know what they are, let me know. But I wanted more books like that, so I wrote one, and I wanted to fill that gap. I always put myself in the shoes of like all the male heroes in these
mhm,
books, and thought, wouldn't it be cool if I could swing a sword? Wouldn't it be cool if I could shoot, a bow and arrow? Wouldn't it be cool if I was the one riding a dragon or whatever? But I never saw that. It was like the women were always, I don't know, not always. They were a lot of times they were the side characters, or they
mhm,
were the really pretty ones, usually dangerous. That type of thing. And that's cool. Like that's cool. No hate. Um, I like those stories too. But I just wanted something different. I wanted
mhm.
something, where the women were causing chaos, because that was my reality. A lot of my family, we're a chaotic bunch, and the women in my family are very strong-willed, very strong in general.
Mhm.
um, so yeah, they inspire me a lot.
So from a tone perspective
Mhm.
of this world, it really has that. The world feels like there's an ache to this world. It has this beauty that's that is wrapped around in like ruin and chaos. And for you, I'm really curious, how did you go through and plan your story to strike that equal balance between the epicness that is your story, but also still has those intimate moments within the characters and their interactions? How do you go through and make sure you had that balance where it made sense?
It was very difficult. I had to go back through a lot and change a lot of things. My writer groups helped because they would say, I don't think this character would do this, or I don't think this scene quite works just yet because of this and this. So a lot of help from other writers to kind of make it shine. But I always knew I kind of wanted to balance the character and like the really fun storytelling aspect, right?
Mhm.
In when I was in school, it was kind of like you must focus on character even to the expense of the plot. And I'm like, well, the books that I really love, the plot's fast paced and full of, action and all this adventure. And I'm like, I don't want to sacrifice either one. I want them both. And so that was my goal, was to make something that's really exciting and really mysterious and, has those dark elements, but also like doesn't sacrifice on the character or the meaningful connections between the people. So
Was there any characters that um, surprised you? Maybe a character that you initially didn't have in the story that was like, no, I'm part of this story, or maybe a side character that magically became a had a bigger role within the story as you started going through and writing.
yeah. When I did my first draft, I cut a bunch of characters. I had a whole bunch in there that I didn't need, just like side characters, because I love side characters. I love minor characters, and I love them to be important. But I realized I have way too many, way too many. And Elias had a butler. I cut him. He wasn't needed. And Ching Zhao, which is Li Ling's taster for. She tastes the food for poison, right?
Mhm.
She was a conglomeration of 3 characters, so she took
Wow.
over 3 roles. Yeah. Um, as far as like characters that surprised me, Li Ling definitely. I mean, she took over the book. She was just Li Ling's ambition knows no bounds. I mean, it's just but I like that about her. And then, she's not always right or doing the smartest things, or yeah, sometimes
Mhm.
she's doing things that are really bad. But I liked that she needed to find herself, and that she was really struggling with this need to be loved when she didn't realize, well, a lot of things. We'll just stop there. But she also has this internal ambition that's fighting that need to be loved and loyal, right? And that internal ambition is slowly taking over. So that she definitely surprised me. Another side character, which I actually wrote a short story about recently, um, was Matilda. um, which she plays an important role. You already know because you read the
Mhm.
book, but
Yeah.
she plays an important role in the book. And I was like, at first, I didn't even think Matilda was going to be like a thing. She wasn't even a thought in my mind. And then I thought, well, I need this plot point, but I need to make it surprising, and I need it to be not what anybody expects.
Mhm.
And I was like, wait a minute, what about that chapter that I wrote, that one thing? I can use that here and then make this surprising and the plot move forward. Yeah. So she kind of came out of left field, and I really like Matilda. Like, I ended up liking Matilda a lot more than I
Mhm.
thought I would, which is why I wrote a story about her. And she's going to be important in book 2. If you read the short story, there are some things in there that will give you hints about some of the other books. So it's on my blog.
Okay. It's on the blog. I need to go find out what you're referencing. A
Mhm.
huge Matilda fan. I really like her character. Really curious where you go with that character. Um, so got a question. As someone, because I guarantee we have people on that are currently writers or they are
Yeah.
thinking about becoming writers.
Mhm.
And you mentioned multiple times about writing groups. You mentioned at the beginning how you really enjoy those and it really helps you and you enjoy helping other people. And then how they help you currently with your story, make sure you're hitting the beats. For
Yeah.
those that are trying to find a writing group, what's some, one or two quick recommendations you can have for someone who's like, hey, I want to find a group. How do I go through and do that?
Yeah, if you're an indie writer, I would suggest that you look to Saffron and Idiosyncrasy and
Mhm.
connect there. We have a Discord, and we chat back and forth and exchange stories. And there's lots of Discord groups like that. I mean,
Mhm.
idiosyncrasy is important to me because Saffron's important to me. But Mark's Discord group is awesome too. And so
Mhm.
like I'm in a bunch of them, and I love the writers in all of them. If you're looking to do like small press work, you might try Small Pitch. They have a Discord. It's really nice. And a lot of people, they will exchange,
Mhm.
manuscript for manuscript, and you read mine, I'll read yours, that type of thing. It's a lot of give and take in the writing community. You have to not just think about your project and what you're doing, but
Mhm.
also think about the other people who are creating beautiful work and support them. So, um, yeah, that's my main suggestion is, and don't be afraid to reach out and try. The worst they can say is no. The worst they can do is ignore you. So, and that's okay. Just keep trying. You'll find your people. And I got kind of lucky with the MFA because I found some amazing friends through there. Um, but I also have writer friends through other places. Like, I would go to like bookish places like readings or whatever, bookstores, and I would make friends there. And it's not hard because you have similar interests,
Mhm.
and a lot of writers, they're introverted, but they love to talk about what they do. So it's pretty easy to start a conversation.
Mhm. No, I definitely, that is one thing about bookstores that when you walk in, like, all of us love books, so it's pretty easy to start up a conversation. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've met some amazing people at the local bookstore. I'm there constantly, and it's nonstop of going through, of being like, "What book are you looking for?"
Mhm.
And then we try to, hunt things down and go through and talk about books. Or my favorite is when I turn, because I donate books a lot. I like to donate definitely
Nice.
indie books. If I go through and read them a few times and I go, let me spread the love. And
Yeah.
then I go through and start spending 10 to 30 minutes talking about these books. I'm like, all right, if you like this, if you love this, you need to read this. And you get
Yeah.
people with eyes open. I'm like, just take it. I'm not like, take this, read it, love it. It's amazing. Um, so yeah, it's a really good advice,
That's
really
awesome, Josh.
connect with people that way.
Mhm.
Um, you mentioned that the whole series is living in your head, and that do you know what the ending is going to go through and look like? Do you have an idea, or do you kind of have just like beats on where you want the story to go?
I have a general idea of what the ending will look like. I know how it's going to um get to the climax in the final book. I know what that mm, big kind of thing is. I can't say anything like specific, but um, it's definitely going to a certain spot
Mhm.
in the world, and then things will happen that I can't specify. But it's clear in my head now. When I
Mhm.
actually get to that point, we'll see how it changes. But because I want it to line up with all the lore and the stuff that I have so far. So it kind of has to be tweaked, I'm sure. But yeah, I have a pretty good idea of what it's going to look like at the end.
Awesome. Awesome. That's exciting. That's exciting. Um, if the floating castle had a central heartbeat kind of thing, like a one line or a moment that you feel everything pulses from, what would that be for the floating castle?
Ooh. I really liked your review, Josh,
Mhm.
of the book, the
Yeah.
one line review
Yeah.
that you left.
Mhm.
That was a pretty good heartbeat there for the book. I would say probably the moment where mm, everybody realizes that they are they are not where they want to be. That's
Mhm.
kind of and then they're kind of, I don't know, this is true for like most books, but all of the characters are presented with the opportunity to change, right? And
Hmm.
some of them lean into that and some of them are resistant. And I think those moments are so important in the book, because it's like it's about who you truly want to be and um, what's stopping you from doing that. So, and if you're going to stay in that place or if you're going to move into something that's scary and more like you.
I
Yeah.
like it. Yeah, my so anyone that's not familiar, how I do my reviews, I don't do long reviews on Goodreads or anywhere. I like to do one sentence reviews. It could be what I was thinking about when I finished the book or my favorite quote from the book. And the quote that I use, and I don't feel like it's spoiling anything. Um,
Hmm.
it was my favorite quote, and like I put the book down, and I had like 5 or 10 quotes. I was like, I really like this one, I like this one, but this one just kept coming back to me, and I was like, I really love this. So I used that as my review, and it is, "You are the embodiment of his guilt," and it hits so hard when that scene came up, and I was like, oh my goodness, and it was just like, yeah, it hits hard, which I don't want to get
Hmm.
into the characters it's talking about or the why behind it, but it hits so well within that part of the story. That's all we're gonna say. We're gonna switch gears real quick. So um,
Sounds good.
the lightning round. So we're on the lightning round, everyone. So this is where I'm gonna go through and ask just about 8 or 9 quick questions where Ellen's not going to think. First thing that comes to your head. All right. We're good?
Sounds good.
Fantastic. All right. Coffee or tea while writing?
Coffee.
What's one word to describe the floating castle?
Oh, fiery.
Fiery. Okay.
That's me not thinking.
A fictional world you'd move to tomorrow besides your own. What's that world?
Oh, uh, the Shire.
I was thinking the same thing. Look at that. Same, exact same thing. Favorite writing snack?
Chocolate.
Chocolate. Any kind of chocolate? Dark
No,
chocolate?
Ghirardelli.
Okay. That's my wife's favorite as well.
Sweet. I like your wife.
Hmm. Oh, I like her too. She's cool. Paperback, hardback, or ebook for you as a writer or as a reader?
As a
As a
reader,
reader. As a reader.
paperback.
Paperback. Mass market paperback or just regular paperback?
Regular paperback.
Regular paperback.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have
Okay.
big hands.
Okay. Um, dream literary dinner guest. So 3 authors, they don't alive or deceased. What's 3 authors that you would like to have one meal with?
Other than my friends,
Yes,
let's
other
see.
than your friend.
Jeff Vandermeer, Melanie Finn, obviously, and
Hmm.
Hanif Arudakib. I think I said his name right, maybe. But yeah, incredible writers.
Awesome. The best piece of writing advice you've ever been given?
It should be surprising and yet inevitable.
Ooh. Ooh.
Pretty sure that's a quote from a famous writer, but it's the best writing advice I've been given.
All right. The fantasy trope you'd happy to never see again?
Oh, the
Just
chosen
one.
one.
The chosen one. All the chosen one? All of them? All of them? Okay.
I'm not saying we get rid of stories. We just don't do that one anymore.
Okay. All right. This one is my favorite question. I ask every single author since I've started doing interviews. So I need to know if you need to think about this one, I'll give you some time.
Okay.
If the floating castle had a theme song, what would it be?
Ignite by Skillet, and then there's a song for League of Legends. It's called, what is it called? Oh, hang on. I got it. Hang on. Um it's called Burn It All Down.
Okay. Awesome. All right, awesome. That is our lightning round. And anyone that's not familiar, I do add the theme song, to a Spotify playlist
Hmm.
that you can go and listen to all the chaos, and it jumps all over the place. It is so much fun of going through and listening to all the theme songs to all my favorite books that I went through and all the amazing authors I interviewed. So I'll go through. I'll add that in the description after. Um,
Yay.
I just created it recently, and it's so yeah. I'll add "Ignite" by Skillet onto that. So to be awesome. So if you had all the money in the world and you could adapt your story and you're the one that has full control, so you don't have to worry about Hollywood in your story up, but you have full control of your story adaptation. First, what would be your dream medium? Would it be film? Would it be a series, a graphic novel? Do you have any thoughts?
Hmm. All of this sound good. um, I think maybe I would probably go for a movie just because I had so much fun with my family growing up going to movies. That's back when we went to movie theaters, guys. That's how old I am. Anyway, we had such a blast doing that as a family, and I remember getting so excited about all those movies and all those stories, especially like the Star Wars.
Hmm.
In the theater, it was amazing. So yeah, definitely a movie.
Awesome. All right. Before I jump to my next one, we have number 4.
Ah,
We
yay!
have pre-order number 4. Timothy, you are awesome. Thank you so much. That is amazing. Yeah, so that's 4 pre-orders. Can we get the 5 before the end? Can we get one more person? Can we make it an even 5? An even 5. So
Thank you all.
so a movie. So multiple movies. We would need like
Mhm.
8 to 10 movies to go through and tell your story. Um, so any ideas on who you would want to go through and play 1 or 2 of your characters? Have you thought
Mm,
about that?
that's a good question. Um, I love Millie Bobby Brown. I feel like she's so fierce.
Mhm.
So maybe her. Um,
And who would you
try-
think she would be playing?
probably Emmeline.
That's what I was
Um,
thinking. I was thinking the same thing. Mhm.
yeah, yeah. I don't know about Felina and Li Ling. That those are harder. I would have to think about that for a little while. Um, Elias. I'm curious, Josh. Do you have an idea of what would be a good actor for Elias?
No, I think Millie would be fantastic as Emma. I feel like that is a good one. I I will need to get back to you on who else would need to be. But
I
yeah,
need to think about
I'll go
that.
through. I'll think through a few, and I'll message you
Okay.
some ideas, and we'll put it into the universe and go through and make it happen.
Okay.
I think what is it 7? What is the Kevin Bacon thing? You're 7 steps away from anyone. 7 angles of Kevin Bacon, or whatever it's called. I don't know. It's something. I heard it a long time ago. I can't recall
Hmm.
what it is. So yeah, we're 7 steps away from getting in front of the right people to make it into a movie. So we'll make it happen.
Oh,
Um,
sweet.
so what's something you're currently chasing in your writing now? Is it an emotion that you're hoping to get out of your stories, a specific theme that you want to hit with the audience, or are you trying to challenge your readers? Is there anything that you're currently chasing that you want to get out from your stories?
Yeah, I hope to create that feeling of awe that I felt when I read all of these amazing fantasy and horror and science fiction stories that are just so good. Um, Hopefully, I'll get there. I hope I'm a good enough writer to make people feel that with me. Um, but yeah, that's definitely something I'm chasing. That feeling of awe, that feeling of, oh, like I need to figure out what's going to happen next.
Mhm.
That investment in the story. Um, yeah, and I want people to also be challenged a little bit. I want them to grapple with how we treat each other as humans and what
Mhm.
violence does to us, and um, how we can forgive people who feel like they are irredeemable, you know, or how we can hold people accountable for things that they should be held accountable for. So there's going to be a lot of really kind of complex character interactions, and trauma is a big thing in this series. So it's not going to be just kind of brushed under the rug. I know a lot of fantasy series is about escape, right? And so like
Mhm.
you can have tons of people die and no one actually cares. Like all the people who are living are like, all right, we won, let's go. You know, I don't want it to be that easy for my characters. So
Mhm. Perfect. I'm really curious about, have you thought about your legacy? We're in your early stages of your career. You got a very long career ahead of you. Definitely, if your writing is going to somehow get better and better than what it already is, it's fantastic. But
thank you.
what kind of emotional mark do you want your books to leave your readers? You mentioned what you're shooting for, but in like 20, 30, 40 years from now, when you're finished writing, what are you hoping is that emotional mark you leave on your readers? Is it that awe, or are you hoping it's going to be something else?
Well, you know, a lot of my main characters are survivors. They survive a lot
Mhm,
of really, really
mhm,
hard things. Um, I would love to kind of give stories that encourage people to keep going even when it's really hard. Um, you know, even when really bad things happen, you know, there's always something to strive for. There's always some kind of light out there. And you know, there's been a lot of stories that have really helped me through some dark times. And those were dark stories. I mean, I think about the Hunger Games, for example. That came into my life at the exact right time. I had to read about this girl that was thrown into this horrific
mhm.
situation, and she had to figure out how to survive,
Oh,
protect the people that she loved, and survive this awful situation that she put herself in, right?
mhm.
Um, I needed that story at that time. And so if I'm writing about these women who overcome despite all of the bad, you know, maybe that'll give someone else that story that they need right at that dark time. And that would be really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, it always seems like you find those stories that you need when you need them the most. It's like there's a guiding um, force pushing you to certain stories. Definitely stories. I always find it amazing on stories that I've never heard of. Authors, I've never heard their name, but for some reason, their story pulled to me at the time that I need it most. So yeah, it's always great finding those. That's amazing. That's what you're hoping your stories lead to for someone else. That's awesome. That's very cool.
Thanks.
Um, so we talked about legacy. And you mentioned you have another story that you're currently working on within your series. Is that what the plan is for the foreseeable future? Is just continuing this series, or are you planning on telling other stories in between your main series?
Well, I can't stop writing short stories. I mean, you know, I love flash fiction too, so I'll probably, you know, write that on the side. I even have a short story that I just entered into a contest recently too. So
That's awesome.
I love doing those little small projects. They're so rewarding because you get them done so quickly.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I love doing that. And then I definitely have other ideas. Like it's not just my fantasy series. Like I have two horror books that are screaming in my head to come out. You know, I have other projects I want to delve into too. But I'm trying to be very disciplined because I want to finish this series. And then I don't know, we'll see where those horror books go after that.
Awesome, awesome. So we have horror, we have fantasy. Are there any other genres, themes, tones of other stories you want to go through and tell? Because you can go through and, or I've noticed there's been some authors that within the same series, they kind of go like, I'm going to switch up the tone for this one. This one's going to be a little bit darker than the previous ones, or this one's going to be, I'm going to lean a little bit more into
Yeah.
this type of subgenre, which in the fantasy. Is that something you're planning on doing with this? You're going to kind of keep the same kind of beat throughout the whole 8-10 book series?
Um, there will be moments of hope and there will be moments of darkness. So we will descend and we will rise together. But I think I think in the end I want to spread well I don't want to tell the end. I don't want to tell the
Okay.
end.
All right. We won't
Um
talk. We won't talk about it. We won't talk about it. All right. We'll switch gears. I don't want to put you in a predicament where you're like, man, I put something out in the universe. I wasn't ready to put it out in the universe. So I'm always curious about people's goals.
Mhm.
I'm a very goal oriented person. So for you, what are what are your goals now? And it could be as a writer or just as a human in this wild world that you feel like discussing. Is there a certain goal that you have?
Yeah, I think loving people and caring about people is my primary goal. It will always be my primary
Hmm.
goal. Um, I really genuinely care about the writers that I interact with and the readers that I interact with, and you know, try to be as supportive as possible. We only have so much time in the day, but I
Hmm.
definitely love like making meaningful connections with other people. Um, as far as like my writing, I want to see how far I can go. I want to see how like if I can get better as a writer. That's always a goal, right?
Hmm.
I want to keep finding people and keep connecting with people through my writing. Um, and I do want these stories to mean something to people. I don't want them to just be fluff or
Hmm.
just escape, which is all that's good too. Um, but I do want to have some kind of meaningful impact on other people. And it's not the dark stuff that I want. It's that moment of triumph for the characters. It's that moment of meaningful connection between the characters. I want that to reflect our lives. I want us to think about what we do to each other and care about each other more.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Love it. What does success look like for you? I feel like when I say success to people, it can mean something completely different. Um, but I'm curious for you. What does success look like for you?
Yeah. It used to be to have my book in a bookstore, and then it moved to, well, I want to have a novel. I want to have a
Mhm,
published novel. And I reached both those goals, and I thought that's not really what's important to me. That's not the real goal. The real
mhm,
goal is you know like I said, to have these meaningful connections. It's more
mhm,
about, I don't know. I've had so much support and so much love, um just for my stories, but also for me as a human being, from so many
mhm,
people. And that is way more important to me than anything else. I cherish all of the kind comments, and every time someone reads my book and enjoys it, I'm just like, yes, like
mhm,
that's what I really want with my art. I want it to, you know, make someone happy. I want someone to enjoy it. I want someone to escape the hard stuff in their world for a while. Um, I want them to think about the the tough stuff that they've been through and how they treat other people. That's yeah. So I feel like I'm being repetitive now, but
No, you're good. No, you're good. What's been the most, memorable moment, for you
mm,
from someone who has read your book and has informed you, or maybe you've read a post about your book? Has there been, like, a comment that just stuck with you?
oh, there have been so many memorable moments. I can't tell you how many times I've been so grateful for the feedback and for the opinions of other writers, other readers. I think what made me the most happy and the most proud is, you know, when my parents like told me like that I had done something really amazing with this book, and that meant a lot to me because they're the ones that started this whole journey in the first place.
Mhm.
And then, seeing my husband get a little teary-eyed over the dedication, yeah, that made me really happy. So, yeah, lots of meaningful moments.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So big um, family aspect to go through as
Yeah.
memorable moments. It's amazing.
My family is awesome, by the way. They do not reflect the families in this book. Just a disclaimer there.
That's good to know. They're not based off of your family. That's good. That's good to know, because there's some interesting things that happen in this story. Family, yeah, that's good. That's good to know. That's good. That's good to know. So funny. Um, so I I really do appreciate you coming on. This was a lot of fun.
Thank
Um,
you.
do you have a final pitch to people that might be on the fence of going through and jumping into the floating castle?
Yeah, so if you are like me and you need more women in fantasy, like especially as protagonists, but you want to see them in epic fantasy and less in romantasy, my book is probably for you. If you like Game of Thrones and you like The Witcher and you
Mhm.
like things like that, you probably will like my book. Yeah, if you like dragons and cats and that's been kind of a running joke too, but lots of dragons, lots of well, not lots of cats, but a very meaningful, important cat. Um, yeah, but yeah, my book is available for pre-order right now, and if you pre-order it from those, you know, the independent bookstore that I'm working with, which is awesome, the Crafty Bookstore, talking about a meaningful connection. They have been amazing, and they're so cool. They support so many indie authors. And they just celebrated their 1 year anniversary not that long ago. So, I mean, it's a small business. It's run by a woman and a veteran. And, they're doing great things in the bookish community. So, I never really pitched my book for Amazon. Amazon feels like this big corporate beast to me, whereas like all these little, mom and pop shops really
Mhm.
matter to me because they're so kind and they're so respectful
Mhm.
to you about your books. The Crafty Bookstore is the same way. They treat me like family. Amazon doesn't know I exist. So, um, and then, yeah, Amethyst and Ink Books will also carry my book. Starting November 1st, you'll be able to buy it from them. The Cozy Book Nook in Dayton, which is where Blake's book is also, they'll carry it and they'll have it available November 1st. And you can also pre-order the ebook. I couldn't do through independent bookstores through them, but I do have a Smashword sale going on. So pre-sale, you get early access to the book, and there's an optional discount. It's basically like if you're willing to join my newsletter, yay, you'll get a discount. So that's awesome. Yeah, you can find all of the links for everything on my website or in my link tree, and I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and all the places. So
And will have all of the link tree and all that fun information in the description below. Go through and check it out. It is truly a fantastic story. And I'm not just saying this because the author's in front of me. It's actually a fantastic story. I highly go through and recommend checking it out. So again, I really do appreciate you being on. I had so much fun. And yeah, you have an open invite whenever you want to come back on for
thank you.
your next books, or just want to chat about Stranger Things, because the last season's coming out
Yeah, huh.
in a few weeks, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken. So super hyped. Didn't know this until like a few days ago, so I'm excited. But everyone that
Mhm.
was in the chat or anyone that's watching the replay, thank you so much for joining us. And yes, thank you. Have a fantastic evening, and make sure you stay overbooked. Everyone have a fantastic one. Thank you so much. Have a good
Thank
one.
you.
Bye.